Once upon a time, in the land of the living and the dead, there existed a powerful and mysterious Grim Reaper named Raven. He was the caretaker of souls, tasked with guiding the recently deceased to the afterlife. Despite his ominous appearance and duties, Raven was a kind and compassionate being. One day, while on his rounds, Raven met an angel named Seraphine. Seraphine was a radiant being, with wings of pure white and a gentle aura that seemed to radiate peace and love. She was an angel of healing and compassion, sent to comfort the dying and ease their passage to the next world. Raven and Seraphine were immediately drawn to each other. Their connection was like nothing either of them had ever experienced before. They knew that they were from different worlds and that their paths would never normally have crossed, but they couldn't help the way they felt. Despite the barriers that separated them, Raven and Seraphine found a way to be together. They would meet in secret, stealing precious moments whenever they could. They would talk for hours on end, sharing their hopes, fears, and dreams. They would hold each other close, feeling the warmth of the other's embrace. As the days and weeks passed, Raven and Seraphine's love for each other continued to grow. But they both knew that their relationship could never be fully realized. Raven was bound to his duties as a Grim Reaper, and Seraphine was an angel, forbidden to love a being from the mortal world. Despite the obstacles that stood in their way, Raven and Seraphine refused to give up on each other. They knew that their love was eternal, and that nothing could ever tear them apart. One day, Raven received a message that he had been dreading. The message was from the higher powers, the beings that govern the afterlife. They had learned of his relationship with Seraphine, and they were not pleased. Raven was given an ultimatum. He could choose to continue his duties as a Grim Reaper, or he could choose to be with Seraphine. But he could not have both. Raven was torn. He loved Seraphine with all his heart, but he could not abandon his duties. He was the caretaker of souls, and he could not let them down. But Seraphine had a solution. She suggested that Raven could continue to guide the souls to the afterlife, but that she would be there with him, to help him ease their pain and bring them comfort. Raven was overjoyed, and he accepted Seraphine's offer. The two of them continued to work together, guiding the souls to the afterlife and easing their pain. They were partners in every sense of the word, and their love only grew stronger. Years went by, and Raven and Seraphine's love continued to flourish. They knew that they would be together forever, and that nothing could ever tear them apart. They would always be there for each other, through the good times and the bad, through the trials and the triumphs. And so, Raven and Seraphine lived a happy, eternal life together, their love for each other never fading, even in the face of death. They were a reminder that love knows no bounds and that, even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. As Raven and Seraphine continued to guide the souls to the afterlife, they realized that their love and compassion was not just limited to each other. The souls they encountered were often lost, confused, and afraid, and Raven and Seraphine did everything in their power to comfort them and help them find eternal rest. They soon became known throughout the afterlife as the guardians of the souls, and their reputation for kindness and compassion spread far and wide. One day, Raven and Seraphine encountered a soul who was different from all the others. This soul was not lost or confused, but instead was filled with anger and hatred. The soul refused to move on, and instead threatened to cause chaos and destruction in both the world of the living and the dead. Raven and Seraphine were not intimidated, and they approached the soul with compassion and love. They listened to the soul's story, and they understood the pain and suffering that had driven the soul to this state. They spoke to the soul, and they shared their own experiences and their own struggles. And gradually, the soul began to change. The anger and hatred began to fade, and in its place, the soul found peace and comfort. The soul thanked Raven and Seraphine for their kindness, and finally found the strength to move on. From that day on, Raven and Seraphine made it their mission to help every soul they encountered find eternal rest. They would listen to their stories, comfort them in their pain, and help them to see the light even in the darkest of places. The souls they encountered were grateful for the love and compassion that Raven and Seraphine showed them, and their influence spread throughout the afterlife. They became beacons of hope, showing that even in the darkest of places, there is always light. And so, Raven and Seraphine continue to guide the souls to the afterlife, spreading love and compassion wherever they went, and helping every soul they encountered find eternal rest. They were a true testament to the power of love, and they will always be remembered as the guardians of the souls. As the years went by, Raven and Seraphine continued their tireless work, guiding the souls to the afterlife. But despite their love for each other and for their work, they began to feel the weight of their duties. They were exhausted, both physically and emotionally. They longed for rest, to lay down their burden and let their minds and bodies heal. But they knew that the souls they encountered were in greater need of rest than they were. So they pushed aside their own needs and continued their work, always putting the needs of the souls first. They would comfort the lost, hold the hand of the dying, and guide the souls to the afterlife with a love that never faded. One day, as they guided a group of souls to the afterlife, Raven and Seraphine came across a soul who was particularly weary. The soul had been lost for a long time, and had wandered through the world of the living for many years. It was tired, and its spirit was broken. Raven and Seraphine could feel the weight of the soul's exhaustion, and they knew that it was in desperate need of rest. So they took the soul by the hand, and they guided it to the afterlife with a love that was gentle and kind. The soul was overjoyed to finally find rest, and it thanked Raven and Seraphine for their kindness. And as they watched the soul disappear into the afterlife, Raven and Seraphine felt a sense of peace and satisfaction that they had not felt in a long time. It was in that moment that they realized that their own exhaustion was not important. What was important was the work they did, the love they showed, and the peace they brought to the souls they encountered. And so, Raven and Seraphine continued their work, always putting the needs of the souls first. They may have been tired, but their love and compassion never wavered. They would always be there for the lost, the weary, and the broken, guiding them to the afterlife with a love that was eternal.